Hallo Leute, willkommen zurück zu meinem YouTube channel, and today is going to be an interesting video because let's talk about sex. I decided to make this video series actually because I think that the whole world should know more about sex because we are stigmatized. I mean, not really stigmatized, but we are more or less not given enough information about sex in school, or your parents may not tell you anything about sex, or your parents may tell you very little about sex, but part of it might be myths. So I'm gonna make this video because this is gonna help so many of you guys out, and also I really like to talk about sex education. I happen to be a fairly sex positive person, so I thought, why not make a video all about sexual things that you were not taught in school or that you maybe should brush up on or anything like that. So this is going to be that video. All right, so the first topic is going to be about consent. Now, what is consent? It is giving someone permission to do something. In this case, it's going to be sexual. Therefore, the reason why you should do it is because you will feel, I feel like for me, whenever I consent to something sexual, I don't know, it just gives me more like a validation, like, okay, so we're both on the same page, kind of a thing, which it does make you feel that way. And there are several questions that I think you should ask, like, okay, are you on the pill? When was the last time you got tested? Kind of thing. I'm gonna make a separate video on like questions you should ask before you have sex, just to kind of help those of you who are, you know, wanting to have sex with somebody and thinking of consent to play with that, or like what kind of contraception should we use, that kind of a thing. That's gonna be a separate video. I'm actually gonna probably be turning this more into a series. So consent is very important to me because of my past. I'm not gonna get into specifics, but I am a survivor of sexual assault. I'm not gonna talk about that in a video ever, so don't ask me about it, but I am really big on consent ever since many things like that have happened to me, and also I've dated a lot of douchebags in my lifetime. Really so much female douchebags, but a lot of male douchebags. But so I feel like consent is just gonna give everybody the satisfaction that you are on the right page. And also, it can be sexy. Like, for a while there, when I was younger, when I was pretty young, I had my first kiss fairly young, and when people would ask me, like, can I kiss you, Effie? And I'm like, sure, yeah, go ahead, like, surprise me, like, kiss me, I'll let you know. But then I'm like, you know what, I'm actually glad that they asked, because I probably wouldn't have said yes if they would have just planted one on me. Granted, that can be really romantic in many instances. I actually kind of like that. I understand that, like, people like the surprisingness, you know, getting kissed unexpectedly, like, shut up with a kiss, like, that's something that's like, but obviously, like, if it involves anything intimate, even like cuddling, I feel like consent should be something that should also be part of cuddling. Granted, that kind of comes naturally for so many people. I mean, you wouldn't have to consent to it depending upon whatever it is you want to do, but I feel like it's important. So yeah. And the next topic is gonna be, I'm gonna try to run through these sort of in depth and sort of not in depth. I don't know of very many people in school that learned about gay sex in sex ed class, or whatever it is you call it where you are. Because I don't know, I feel like there's so much stigma with gay sex, and there's a myth that, you know, gay sex does not exist. Like, that's not like a thing, like it's only in porno, and ew, you're so disgusting for looking at porn. But it exists. Like, it's been around since human beings have been around. It dates back to so many years ago, like ancient Rome, many different things. Like, fellatio started in ancient Rome. Fun fact of the day. Granted, this was not in the script at all. I just remembered that from something I watched a documentary on. But yeah, gay sex does exist. So what is gay sex? Gay sex is when you have sex with someone that's of the same gender as you. It can be with 2 or 3 penises. It can be with like a mixture of both. It can be, granted, that isn't really gay sex. It's more like a group sex orgy thing, which I will get into hopefully in this video or the next few videos. But having only gay sex is okay. The first time that I ever had sex, it was gay sex. Or like I didn't realize it because there's so much of a stigma between like what that is. And I feel like virginity is something that people don't often think about when they think about gay sex. They always think, okay, well, I'm a virgin because I had gay sex. I was never penetrated or anything, but fingering does count as a form of penetration. So I would say that it's very different. It is a little bit different from straight. Obviously, straight sex is like is with penis and vagina, obviously. But with gay sex, it is with two vaginas, two penises, and it's either anal, oral, clitoral, fingering, which is kind of about the same thing, or even like it's like a different, it's pretty similar. Yeah, it's not as rare as people think it is, especially because nowadays so many people are coming out with their sexuality, are being more fluid about their sexuality, which is great that we have actually progressed the way that we have with sexuality. I'll make a separate video on sexuality sometime soon, hopefully. But yeah, this gay sex stuff is actually pretty common. And yeah, which me sort of into masturbation. This script and video is in no particular order, but I just thought it would be important to highlight these points. So masturbation, there's obviously a massive stigma that like women shouldn't masturbate because it's dirty, like only men should do it because men are dirty, or women shouldn't do it because how dare they know what they like, kind of a thing. And obviously there's a lot of reasons why you should do it. 1, it relieves stress. 2, you know what you want. Like you experiment with your own body, with your own genitals, or with like every other erogenous zone on your body. I mean, I'll make a separate video on erogenous zones. But yeah, so there's just a massive stigma with it, and I feel like there really shouldn't be, because women, I feel like, are more shamed when they masturbate, which is a really huge double standard if you ask me, because women shouldn't be shamed for masturbation. In fact, I encourage it. Like, you should masturbate. It is good for you. It relieves so much stress too, like, and pain. Like, granted, there's a time and a place for it. You should not be masturbating in public because you get arrested. And like there's no reason for people to be stigmatized by the stigma of masturbation. Like, men do it, women do it. I mean, there are people that even do it when they're really little and don't even realize what they're doing, but it feels good. That's one of the other points of it. That's one of the 3 main points. It feels good, stress reliever, and you know what you want. Like when a partner asks you specifically, like, what do you want when they have sex? I mean, so many people have said that. There was an episode of Sex Education in the first season of Sex Education where Amy from Sex Education never masturbated before, and then she realized that wanking is good. That she knew exactly what she wanted because her boyfriend was frustrated with her because he was all about, empowerment. That's kind of why I just highly encourage it. Leads into my topic on orgasms. So an orgasm is a high intense feeling of pleasure. That's just my definition of it. I'm not gonna get like a dictionary out and like look it up. But an orgasm feels like many different things to many different people. First off, it can feel like you just let out a really good sneeze. It can feel tingly. It can feel kind of tingly, so it can kind of tickle too. It varies from person to person. You can even shake. It's usually your legs that shake, or like your bottom half. Like, I've definitely experienced orgasms that were that great. All up to the individual. How to achieve an orgasm, that is kind of based on what you feel works for you to achieve the big O. There's so many different words for orgasm. Climax, the big O. Those are just a couple. But an orgasm is it's kind of like almost like an epiphany that you have when you do anything sexual. Like if you're masturbating, if you're doing any tantric massage or sex or anything like that. That's kind of like the thing that most people reach for is to orgasm. Granted, you will not most likely orgasm your first time. I don't know of very many women that can even orgasm with just penetration. It actually is 75% of women actually just can get off on it by just clitoral stimulation, which is basically just the outer. I'll get into another video on the anatomy of it, but this is just a brief comprehensive guide. So there's a few myths about sex. Obviously, everybody knows this one, I hope, is that abstinence is the only way to achieve safe sex, which it is not, by far, the only way to achieve safe sex. There's masturbation, there's condoms, there's contraception. There's a lot of different ways to, you know, achieve safe sex. And then, of course, and then also one thing I feel like many women don't hear a little too much is that you lose part of your worth every time you have sex, which is not true. You do not lose your worth. You're not like you're not a prostitute if you've had sex more than 2 times or 1 time. Like, people need to kind of back off on that, because it's not a fucking it's not like every woman that has sex or everybody that has sex is horrible. I understand there's a lot of religion into that stuff. Granted, I have a video on that stuff about how much I hate Christianity and why I left it, but that's not for this video. So those are just a few myths that I have. I'm gonna probably make a video on sex myths and elaborate on them. But there was one I know that I heard of that's a sex myth that was about, like, oh, if you masturbate too much, your dick will fall off. That's not true. Obviously not. I don't know of anybody's dick that's fallen off doing that. Or the bigger your hands, the bigger your member. A few different myths as well that I'll discuss in a different video. So next up is birth control. So this is pretty important for most people. I feel like I never really learned much about birth control in school. We were learned about the pill and like the female and male condom. Those are like the only things, but there's so much more than that. We have the IUD, which goes internally if you're a female. It goes internally inside of you. I think it goes close to your, I know women that have this, that's what I'm saying, is that it goes closer up to your uterine, but you definitely always have to monitor it from what I've been told. Then there's the implant, which is just an arm implant that goes in your arm. I don't have one yet, but that does exist and it's good for 3 years. I'm not sure how good an IUD is for condom, which is just the basic condom that you put on your penis, if you have a penis. And then the internal condom would be the female condom, which is just like a little, kind of looks like a menstrual cup, but it's not a menstrual cup. It's just a regular, it's like a little plasticky thing. I wish I had one to show you, but I don't, because I don't wear female condoms or dental dams or anything, which that's also a form of birth control. But there's a lot. I'm just saying, like, this is just a very comprehensive video. So next one is going to be on periods, because I feel like that's when I learned about periods. Well, I didn't really learn about them. I've known about them my whole entire life, actually. Being a woman, I feel like that's something that your mom or a female in your life when you're a female tells you about. Unless if you grew up a little more conservative, then you may not know much about periods and you may think a few different things about that. Anyways, so a period is when a woman's uterine wall is shedding and, you know, blood, an egg cell is also breaking. So obviously a woman has egg cells and ovaries and a lot of different things up in there that help her, like, that kind of, it's weird how I was explained to it, where your egg cells are breaking, but that's because it doesn't have the chance to form a baby or anything like that. It was like really weird in health class. But yeah, that's how I learned it, which is really weird. But it was like making it seem like you should get pregnant right away, kind of a thing, which is really disturbing for like a little kid to learn about. Little kid meaning like 13-year-old, but still. And I feel like something many people should know is that just because a woman is emotional or angry or like in a mood does not mean that she's on her period. Because I've had many of ex-boyfriends that have told me, keyword ex, that the reason why you're acting like this is because you're on your period. And I'm also bipolar, so of course that's a little bit offensive to me because I'm also bipolar, and when I'm on my period, it's a wonderful time for me, trust me. Just be nice to women all the time, and she'll thank you for it later. Like, if you're dating a woman, or if you are a woman, or if you're dating or if you're a female and dating a woman, like, be nice. She's gonna give you hell during her period if you aren't, and you're gonna be expected to buy tampons and pads if she wears tampons. Yeah, just be nice. That's just a little snippet that I have here. Another one is fetishes. So this one never was brought to my attention when I was a kid. I knew like kind of what it was, of course, because people would always say, oh, this person has a fetish for this, you know, all around school. You know how school children are. I sound so old. I'm not even that old, guys. I'm 23, but yet I'm talking like I'm like 45. So yes. And there's many fetishes out there. However, there are a lot of common ones and there are some not so common ones. I feel like there's about 100, I think there's hundreds of fetishes out there. But also there's a lot of common fetishes like group sex, foot fetishes, BDSM, electroshock therapy for some reason is counted as a common one from my research. Dirty talk. There's a few different other ones like threesomes. Role play is pretty common. I will say that's very, very common. I just obviously think it is, and a lot of people I feel like know what role play is. So the next one that I'm going to be talking about is lubrication. The best kind to use always when you're in doubt, use water-based lubricant anytime you do. However, if you are doing anal sex, I would suggest a thicker lubricant that is water-based. I don't know, I don't do anal sex, so I don't really know much on like the lubrication. I should ask. I know people that are into that stuff, and I should probably ask for a future video as to what to do. So the reason why oil-based lubricants are not good on condom is because it tears down the condom's material, lubricant, a lot of things. It can actually make you get pregnant if you use an oil-based lubricant. You should use a water-based lubricant always. And I feel like I should mention this because I didn't mention this in the birth control part, but the pull-out method is not a method of birth control. If a guy says just the tip or pull-out method or something along the lines of I'm just going to take my dick out before I come, when you really probably will be coming inside before you pull out, which don't trust any guy that says that. I have fortunately never been in that situation before, but just if you don't feel comfortable doing something sexual, this kind of goes back to the consent thing, but if you don't feel comfortable, you can always say no. Like, just say no. If you feel uncomfortable and you say yes, like, you're not gonna like yourself for after that. Like, you're gonna really wish that you didn't say yes. I've been there before several times, but did it anyway, of course. Hated myself afterward. Anyways, so the next and final topic is going to be douching. So this is kind of an interesting one because people that are gay that have sex can use douching to flush out everything else. However, women should not use douching because it is not good. Your vagina is actually a self-cleaning body part, and it will clean itself out with your periods. There are porn stars that use douching, that douche a lot. Like, I mean, probably about after every time they have sex. I've watched documentaries on pornography. I've seen it. So that's it for this video, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this because I had kind of a lot of fun making it. So that's the end of this video, you guys, and I will be back with another video hopefully soon. Until then, I love you guys. Bye! Bis später!